Congratulations for landing on this page. I am so excited to give you this training today because I know that it has the power to change your life. I'm going to teach you the 10 critical mistakes that you are probably making right now that are literally destroying your mitochondria and causing many of your chronic symptoms. You know, the exhaustion, the fatigue, the brain fog, the gut issues, and all the many symptoms that you're dealing with. And I have three very important goals for you today. Number one, I'm going to train you in the most cutting edge science so that you can get your energy back and you can stop being confused as to why you feel like crap. Number two, I'm going to give you real evidence based solutions for how you can get started right away so that you can feel better within about the next 30 days. And number three, I'm going to give you a free ebook with all the scientific references so you can see that what I'm telling you is real peer reviewed science that you can use to feel better quickly. And I'm going to make a very bold statement to you right now. I submit to you that what you thought you knew about chronic illness and autoimmune disease is probably wrong. And in this video, I'm going to teach you the 10 mistakes that you're probably making that are actually causing your own illness. Because you don't have an incurable problem. What you have is a knowledge problem. I'm Dorinda Smith. I'm a medical scientist. I'm an immunotoxicologist and an autoimmune disease specialist. And I have joined thousands of awesome doctors and scientists out there who are screaming from the rooftops to give you this information so that you can get off the big pharma roller coaster and you can actually start to make a difference in your health. So now, before I dive into those 10 mistakes that you're probably making that are causing you to feel like crap, I really need to give you some love. Would you please allow me to speak to your heart today? If a supplement stack alone could heal you, there wouldn't be such an epidemic of chronic illness today. So, supplements are just that. They are supplemental to our good foundation. And, of course, the medical establishment has literally failed us when it comes to teaching us about how to take care of our foundation. And of course, the medical establishment never really teaches us how to take care of the root cause of our health problems. And, I say this as a medical scientist who spent over $200,000 on my master's and PhD education. And I've also suffered for more than 15 years with severe fibromyalgia and 7 autoimmune diseases. So I know what I'm talking about here. So please let me give you some love today. You're not sick because you're lazy or because you're broken, or because you haven't found the right doctor, or the right diagnosis, or the right medication, or the right supplement stack. You are sick because no one ever taught you how your body works at the genetic and the cellular level and how you need to take care of it. How to get out of your own way, how to give your body everything that it needs every day and none of what it doesn't. So today, I'm going to give you the latest medical breakthroughs that are going to end your confusion. And I'm not going to give you any fluff, no internet trends, none of that. I'm just going to give you the real biology, explain simply so that you can take this information, you can start using it right away, and you can start helping yourself to have more energy and feel better. The main thing that I want to teach you about today is mitochondrial dysfunction, because mitochondrial dysfunction is the linchpin. It is the main underlying reason why you have most of your chronic symptoms. And I'm going to prove that to you today. So I need you to listen up. I need you to take notes. And I would love it if you shared this training with everyone that you know, because everyone needs to know this information. And I promise you, the steps I'm going to be teaching you today, they're not that hard. You can do them. You really can. This really is the scientific answer that you've been waiting for. It's the answer that healed me. It's the answer that heals all of our clients. And I know that this is going to bless you today. I want this information to help you to be everything that God created you to be. So, okay, come on, let's get started. So, mistake number one, you are searching for a diagnosis and a pill for an ill rather than working at the root cause level. I can't spend even 5 minutes on the internet without someone saying to me, what do I take for this symptom? Or what do I take for that symptom? And is this symptom lupus or is this symptom scleroderma? Is this symptom autoimmune disease? And what I need you to know is that you are asking the wrong question. You're thinking about a diagnosis and getting a pill for an ill rather than learning what your root causes are and fixing those. Because a diagnosis is not going to tell you anything about your root causes. It's just going to give you a name for what you're feeling. And doctors are trained to just give you a pill for your symptoms. They are really not trained in how to do the critical thinking that gets to the root cause of the issues. And if you don't work at the root cause, you know that you're just going to continue to feel badly. If you're not working at the root cause level, you are literally allowing your root causes to get worse and worse and worse and worse over time. And they're making you sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker over time. And guess what? Those medications that the doctor gives you, they are only temporarily helping you to feel better if they work at all. They are literally causing the cellular deficiencies that are destroying your mitochondria, that are actually causing your root causes to be even worse. But to be fair, this is not your fault. We are taught to go for a diagnosis. We are taught to go for a pill for an ill. And, being human beings, if we think that we can just quickly take a pill to fix a problem, rather than do the real underlying intentional work that needs to be done for our health, wouldn't we all just grab that quick fix? But here's the real science that big pharma won't tell you, and even supplement companies won't tell you. The real underlying reason why you don't feel good and why you have so many chronic symptoms and even why you have autoimmune disease and thyroid disease and gut issues and even mental health problems, anxiety and depression, the whole reason why you feel this way is really because of mitochondrial dysfunction. What scientists have learned is that mitochondrial dysfunction really is the first domino to fall in most chronic illnesses that we see today. And here's your hope. Mitochondrial dysfunction is totally preventable and totally reversible. It is 100% under your control, and you can feel so much better if you just stop killing off your own mitochondria. So I think I need to teach you a little bit more about mitochondria just to make sure that everybody's up to speed and on the same page. You probably remember from high school biology that mitochondria are those little tiny cells within all of your cells that make your energy. And obviously, if you don't have energy, you can't do any work. So mitochondria take things that you need like sunlight, oxygen, water, and food and turn them into energy that you can then use to do everything that you need to do in life. If your mitochondria are happy and healthy and they have everything that they need to do their job, then you're going to feel fantastic. You're going to have abundant energy. Your brain is going to be, just firing all the time. You're just going to feel awesome. But when your mitochondria are damaged, when they're sick, when there isn't enough of them, you're going to really feel badly. And the first evidence that you have mitochondrial dysfunction is that you're crashing. Your energy is not where it needs to be. And when you start losing your energy, everything in your body slows down. Okay. Your brain slows down. Your organs slow down. Your immune system slows down. Your metabolism slows down and you start gaining weight. Your hormone production slows down and you start getting things like thyroid disease and autoimmune diseases. When you don't have enough energy, you can't do anything. And when this continues for any length of time, you start having major symptoms of disease. Your body begins to fail on multiple levels. You start to have genetic misfirings. You start to have major cellular deficiencies, things that your cells are just missing. You're going to start having immune system dysfunction, gut microbiome issues, brain issues, anxiety and depression, even severe mental illness. And really, it's the mitochondrial dysfunction that is causing so many varied, crazy symptoms that people are always asking about, right? What is the symptom? What is that symptom? It's mitochondrial dysfunction. And you are not a hypochondriac. And this is not just stress. And this is not all in your head. This is very, very real. And it's not just a theory anymore. Maybe it was a theory 20 years ago, okay? Now it is peer-reviewed, well-proven science that we know that nearly all chronic illnesses start with mitochondrial dysfunction. And if we fix the mitochondrial dysfunction, people just all of a sudden start getting amazingly better. And a lot of their symptoms just get better and better and even fall off. And this is not just my opinion. Okay, I want to give you the stats and I'm going to read them right to you so I can give it to you straight. 88% of US adults are metabolically unhealthy, meaning that their cells struggle to produce and regulate energy efficiently. Only 12% of adults meet basic criteria for metabolic health. This means that the vast majority of adults already show signs of mitochondrial dysfunction and cellular energy failure long before they can get a diagnosis from their doctor. More than 1 in 3 adults have prediabetes, a condition tightly linked to mitochondrial dysfunction in the muscle, liver, and brain tissue. Over 80% of these people don't even know that they've got this. Mitochondrial dysfunction is identified as a central driver of the most common chronic diseases worldwide, including diabetes, heart disease, all autoimmune disease, neurodegenerative diseases, arthritis, mental illness, even cancer, and all of the chronic inflammatory diseases that we see today. And at least 1 out of every 200 people carry a pathogenic mitochondrial DNA mutation. Okay, this is something at the genetic level, even without a diagnosed mitochondrial disease. These mutations reduce energy efficiency and increase vulnerability to stress, toxins, and illness. But we know that these are fixable, and I'm going to teach you about that today. Mitochondrial dysfunction is showing up earlier in life, with studies documenting impaired mitochondrial metabolism in children with obesity, insulin resistance, neurodevelopmental disorders, lower IQ, anxiety, depression, and chronic inflammatory conditions in our kids. And it's not just here in America. Mitochondrial dysfunction affects roughly 40 to 45% of adults globally in developed nations, confirming that mitochondrial impairment is widespread and it is not rare. And now here's something you need to listen up about. Interestingly, widespread mitochondrial dysfunction is almost unheard of in underdeveloped and traditional societies that live close to the land. So, when people move daily, when they eat whole foods, when they follow natural light and circadian rhythm cycles, when they prioritize their sleep, when they live in community, when they get lots of love, when they have, good grounded spirituality, they show much fewer rates of chronic disease. And most of these societies don't even have a name for diabetes or autoimmune disease. They rarely see cancers. And these people live long, productive lives all the way into their old age. And just to drive home the point again, I need to say this clearly to you. It is the mitochondrial dysfunction that is the central driver of most of the chronic illnesses that we see today, including your exhaustion, your brain fog, your gut issues, your thyroid disease, all the autoimmune diseases. I know I'm repeating myself, but you need to hear this. You can take control over your mitochondrial dysfunction. You can reverse most of the chronic symptoms and illness that you have in your body right now. You really do have the power to feel amazingly better. You just need to learn how. And all those symptoms that you're feeling right now, you need to take these seriously. This is your body telling you that you have major mitochondrial dysfunction and that you need to fix it, because if you don't, you will just go on to feel worse and worse and worse. And this is why people develop really serious health complications like autoimmune disease, like cancer, like Alzheimer's disease. So please hear me loud and clear. Stick with me on this training. I am going to teach you all the mistakes that you're making. I'm going to do it in love, and I'm going to help you to fix those mistakes and take action. And just for a minute, before we start talking about mistake number 2, I need to talk to you about why this is all happening. The big picture, this is a spiritual battle. God wants you well so that you can be and do everything that He created you to be and do, except you have a very real enemy. And that enemy is telling you that you're broken, that now that you have a diagnosis, or now that you have these symptoms, or you've been suffering for so long, so therefore you are broken, you cannot heal. And that is a lie straight from the pit of hell, because there are literally hundreds of thousands of people out there in the world, and I'm one of them. My clients are them. We are healing. We have healed. And so if it's impossible, if you're just stuck and you're broken as soon as you start having chronic symptoms, then why are all these people healing? Again, I want you to make sure that you get the copy of the ebook. I've sent it to your email, and I want you to look up all the scientific references that I gave you about how to heal. I don't want you to just take my word for it. Who am I? Okay, I'm just another scientist out there, but I am here speaking the truth to you. I am called by God after my own healing to give you the truth so that you can be everything that God created you to be. You can win this war against your very real spiritual enemy that wants to keep you limited, that wants to keep you stuck, that wants to make you believe that you're just broken and that there's nothing you can do, that you're just going to believe your doctor when he tells you that, oh, well, now you're screwed and now all you can do is just, do the big pharma ride for the rest of your life. Oh, come on. That's not the scientific truth. And you can go look it up on PubMed yourself, but I have given you many of the references in the ebook. So make sure that you take the time to look some of this stuff up. You absolutely can take control over your mitochondrial dysfunction. You absolutely can get your energy back. You absolutely can start reversing your chronic symptoms. You absolutely can feel amazingly different than what you feel right now. You can stop the flares, you can stop the crashes, and you can live the abundant life that Christ created you to live. And one more quick thing before I move on to mistake number 2, I need you to know that even the supplements that are very important, they're God's medicine, right? They come from plants, right? And it's just another thing that we use to help people to get better. But even supplements cannot work well if you are still making all these many different mistakes, okay? They're just supplements. They're supposed to be supplemental to your foundation, and that foundation needs to be working at the mitochondrial level. And this is one of the reasons why people think that, oh, well, this supplement doesn't work or that medication even doesn't work. And it's because people are making very critical mistakes that are overriding anything else that you could be doing. Right? So if your mitochondria don't have every little thing that they need in order to produce your energy, and you think that popping a pill, whether it's a medication or a supplement, is going to just magically fix that for you, I'm here to tell you that it won't. Okay. It might help somewhat, but it won't until you decide that you're going to get serious and you're going to do something about your foundation and you're actually going to stop making the mistakes. And look, I've been helping people to heal for almost 10 years now. And I even made this mistake myself when I was healing, right? I wanted that quick fix. I wanted to be able to just use a really good supplement stack in order to help myself to feel better. And what the truth was is that I had to get with the program. And it's true for all of our clients as well. I see people get amazing, dramatic results. I mean, their entire lives change. But that never happens just because someone decided to follow a protocol. Okay. It happens when people really get busy and they really take care of their foundation instead of just thinking that this supplement's going to fix it or that supplement's going to fix it. Okay. And so that's what these 10 critical mistakes are about today. And I promise you at the end, I'm still going to give you an opportunity to have an amazing protocol. And actually, you can grab that right now. I've made it available for only $27. So, really, like anybody can afford to grab this protocol. Or you don't have to. You can just learn everything that I'm teaching you today and you can organize it and figure it out. And it's not that hard. You can do this, but we have made it easier for you to just grab that protocol. And that protocol is going to include everything. It's going to include the supplements that you need, but also it's going to correct all these mistakes that you're making. And so if you'd like to grab that, you just click the link below this video. All right. So now let's go on to mistake number 2. And that is you believe this is just genetic. So this false belief is literally one of the biggest lies that have been told to people in modern medicine. So sadly, you're still believing what we used to believe back in the 1950s, a long time ago. We believed that if your mom or your dad or some other family member had an illness, and if you started having those same symptoms too, that, well, too bad, so sad, it's just genetic. That's no longer true. We've known that ever since 2002. And what happens when you believe that is you just give up trying. You think, well, okay, it's genetic. I'm just screwed. There's nothing I can do about this except just manage it. And that's exactly what the medical establishment and what Big Pharma want you to believe. And it's the big spiritual lie. Because if you believe that it's just genetic and there's nothing that you can do about it, then therefore, well, you're just accepting this fate. You're accepting the fact that you are always going to be broken now for the rest of your life. And that is just a big fat lie. Because the truth is that scientists learned in 2002 is that your genes are not your destiny. That your genes literally respond to everything going on around you in your environment, outside of you, inside the cell, and also even your thoughts. Your genes are responding to everything every 30 seconds. Your genetic expression can change depending on your environment. And guess what? You have pretty much all control over your environment. So your genes receive the input from your environment, and then they decide whether they're going to create proteins that cause health, that cause good brain function, that cause good organ function, good immune function, good gut microbiome function, lots of great energy, or they're getting clues from the environment that, hey, we need to get the immune system involved here and we need to cause a lot of rampant inflammation because, oh my goodness, something is wrong. When your genes are constantly being put in an environment that causes inflammation like that, this is what's causing people to be very, very chronically ill. This is what's causing the mitochondrial dysfunction This is what's causing your pain, your inflammation, your brain fog, and all the many diseases that we see today. And this scientific field is called the study of epigenetics. I'm sure you've heard of this. And here's some information that's going to stop you in your tracks. And I'm going to read the statistic to you right now to make sure that you hear it loud and clear. In one of the largest human studies ever conducted, researchers found that environmental factors explained far more of the risk of early death and chronic disease than the genetic risk did itself. Inherited genes only accounted for less than 2% the symptoms and the illness. And so, what does this mean for you? It means that you can have hope because you do have control over all the various environmental factors that cause disease. You do have control over your lifestyle. You do have control over your nutrition. You do have control over how much water you drink, how much sunlight you get. You do have control. You do have control over whether you exercise or not. You do have control even over the different toxins that you're exposed to and how well you remove those toxins, how well you improve your detoxification status. You do have control over the way your genes are expressing, and you do have control over whether your mitochondria are being destroyed or not. Now, I know that this might sound a little terrifying to you if your environment is really chaotic right now. And I get this because it was the same for me when I was sick. So I understand. And I also know that it's not your fault because no one ever taught you this before. But if you just grab onto the hope that you really do have control over your environmental factors, then you can absolutely change the way your genes express. You can even correct those crazy gene SNPs, those mutations that you probably have that are accounting for maybe 2 to 5% of your illness. And yeah, that's part of the foundation that I'm going to talk to you about. So you need to know that your cells, your genes don't wait to respond to your environment. They're literally responding like every 30 seconds. Okay? And what does this mean? This means that your symptoms are not locked in place. If you just start working on your environment and working on those genetic factors that you absolutely can correct, you will start to feel better. In other words, your chronic symptoms aren't happening to you out of the blue for no reason. It's not idiopathic like your doctor says. There are very real root causes, and some of them you're causing yourself with the environment that you're choosing to be in. And please hear me say this with love because look, I made all those mistakes too. So there's no shame here. This is just all about you getting the knowledge that you need, that God wants you to have, so that you can take control of your health. And now I want to dive just a little bit deeper and talk to you a little bit about some of those genetic factors that you are probably wrong. They're probably a little messed up in your body, and that's okay because you can fix them and you need to know what these are. So the first one that I want to teach you about is methylation. And you've probably heard of this, but I want you to know that just because it's the darling of all the internet health gurus out there does not mean that this is the only genetic factor that you can take control over. I also want to say this about methylation before we go down this rabbit hole that there are internet sites all over the place with Facebook groups that basically say that oh no, I've got methylation mutation, so therefore I'm just screwed. And nothing could be further from the truth. This is one of the easiest things to fix if you just know how. So first of all, let me just explain to you and bring you up to speed on what methylation is. It's basically the way your cells communicate with one another. And because it's involved in cellular communication, methylation is involved in just about every cellular process that there is. But it's especially involved in your brain health, in your gut health, in whether you can detoxify well or not. And detoxification, of course, is not a fad. If you didn't detoxify, you'd be dead by tomorrow. You have to get rid of bad things that you're exposed to. And if you have problems with your methylation at the genetic level and you don't fix them, you don't even know that you have them, what's going to happen? The very first thing is that it's going to affect your mitochondria. It's going to literally cause your mitochondrial dysfunction, and your energy is going to go. And then you're going to start building up toxins. You're going to start up things like histamines and all kinds of other toxins because you're not able to get rid of them as well. And I want to read this sentence that comes directly from a scientific paper for you so you can hear it loud and clear. When methylation is impaired, energy production slows, detoxification completely slows to a crawl, toxins and histamines build up, inflammation rises dramatically, gut issues rise dramatically, thyroid and sex hormones completely destabilize, neurochemicals become imbalanced, and people start having erratic mood swings, and then chronic disease develops, including autoimmune disease, cancers, and even Alzheimer's disease. Many people think that, oh, well, if your doctor does a test and you find that you have the MTHFR or, any of the other methylation genes, you think that that's your whole story. And it's really not. If you have a comprehensive genetic test done, you can see that there's probably many reasons at the genetic level why you were able to develop your chronic illness in the first place. There's many detoxification genes that lead to a problem with getting rid of things like mold mycotoxins and problems with microplastics and pesticides and even viruses and bacteria, things like that, right? And of course, it's these detoxification genes that then directly lead to the various toxin buildups that then destroy your mitochondria. There's also immune response genes such as the HLA, and this leads to people having a higher amount of chronic inflammation, but it doesn't have to be that way. These are things that are correctable that you can fix. And this is why people have various food sensitivities, such as gluten or lactose intolerance. But again, you can fix it. There's also genetic pathways such as the COMT or the MAOA that directly link to your neurochemicals, your brain health, whether you have anxiety and depression or other mental illness or other hormone problems. And when people are teaching you about these different genetic mutations that you need to correct, they usually stop right here. And what I want to do is I want to go one step deeper for you and teach you about the science of psychoneuroimmunology, because it's the study of this science that literally changes everything in your environment. What I need you to know, and I know this is going to sound woo woo, so just bear with me for a minute, and I'm going to give you the straight up science. Your thoughts are not just thoughts, they are biochemical messengers. So, psychoneuroimmunology is a study of how your brain and your immune system and your gut, your thoughts, all are related and all work together. And so, when you live in a state of high stress, when you live in a state of chronic fear and worry and unforgiveness and bitterness and just, feeling overwhelmed by life, if you have feelings of worthlessness, even grief, then what's really happening on a biochemical level is those thoughts are creating biochemical signals that are literally creating inflammation in your body. Inflammation causes mitochondrial damage. Inflammation causes the mitochondrial dysfunction. Inflammation causes your genes to be in an environment that is inflammatory. What happens when your genes are in a bad environment? I just taught you this. They express proteins that make you sick. They create even more inflammation, even more inflammation, even more inflammation. And the more inflammation you have, the more symptoms you have. The more symptoms you have, then you develop a chronic disease. So, I need you to hear me on this. The most important environmental factor that you need to take control over, and you need to stop making this mistake, is the one going on right here between your ears. And I want to read this statistic to you next. Just one negative comment at the dinner table can reduce your ability to digest and absorb nutrients by 90%. That food then sits in your gut, ferments, and causes gut dysbiosis and overgrowths of parasites and bacteria and virus. And if you do this regularly, then you've got a real mess on your hands. And many people are stuck there without even realizing it. Most people have never been taught that you really do have full control over your thoughts and over your emotions. And let's take this back to a higher scriptural level. What did Jesus say about this? He said, do not fear. He said, trust the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. He said in Romans 8:28 that all things will work out for your good if you love and trust God. And I'm going to read you another statistic now. Research shows that chronic stress is associated with altered immune cell gene expression patterns, higher inflammatory signaling, and epigenetic changes in stress response genes. In simple terms, long-term fear, stress, and negative emotions literally train the body to stay inflamed and sick. This is why the likelihood of chronic illness and autoimmune disease is much higher in children or in people who have suffered abuse or severe life traumas. But I want you to know that you do have hope here. So, in scientific terms, we call the brain plastic. And that term plastic means that it's malleable, it's easily changeable. All it takes is some good training, some good practice, and you can change those automatic negative thought patterns. Dr. Daniel Amen calls these ants, the automatic negative thoughts. Okay. You can change them. You can stop creating your own heightened inflammation that's definitely leading to a genetic environment that is then causing you to be sick. This is as easy as getting up in the morning and just talking to the Lord about trusting Him, about living in the center of His love, about reading the scriptures, praying, meditating, deep breathing. And just every time you notice a negative thought, you stop and you go, you know what? I'm not going to believe that negative thought. I'm going to believe the truth. I'm going to believe that God's got this. I'm going to believe that I can heal my symptoms. I'm going to believe that I can heal cancer. Because people do. And if you've never watched a podcast with Jordan Rubin, oh my gosh, please go look him up. He's just one of the many scientists out there we're all just saying the same thing, that, yes, you can heal. Yes, you can. And this is one of the mistakes that you're making that you need to stop making so that you can stop creating the inflammation that's making you sick. And it's not wishful positive thinking. It's cellular biology. So here's the core truth that ties all of this together. Your genes load the gun. Yeah, that's true. But it's only like 2 to 5%. It's the environment that actually pulls the trigger. And again, you do have massive control over your environment. And all it takes is knowledge and practice, and you can feel amazingly better. How are you going to do that? Well, you're doing it right now. You're getting the knowledge in this training. And then you're going to start applying what you've learned in this training at the mitochondrial level so that you can start getting your energy back. Working at the mitochondrial level and the genetic level is your foundation. Okay. If we don't get this right, nothing else is going to work. So it's really important that you learn from this training and that you start practicing what I'm teaching you. And again, I want to offer you our mito regeneration protocol that we've just set it all up in hour by hour by hour every day to make it super easy for you to follow, and you know exactly what to do. And it's going to incorporate all the 10 different mistakes that you're probably making that are keeping you sick. And it's just going to help you to stay on track and just make it a lot easier for you. If you'd like to take advantage of that, you can just go ahead and click the link below this video. And once you get your protocol, the next page is going to give you an offer to come into our Rise and Heal challenge. And I want you to know that this is the next step in how to get your health back. It's going to teach you over 3 days' time. You're going to be with me and my team live, and we're going to teach you just everything there is to know, not just all the foundations like you're learning today. We're going to teach you everything there is to know about healing in that 3 day challenge, and you're going to love it. So take advantage of that. All right. So let's go on to mistake number 3, which is being afraid of the sun and living indoors. Now, look, this one's free. And so, you've got no excuse not to do this. And this is one of the most groundbreaking new medical discoveries that we found in 2017. Your mitochondria are literally controlled by sunlight, and sunlight controls your biological clock, which is your circadian rhythm. This scientific information won the 2017 Nobel Prize. And basically, what it says is that if you're not getting good sunlight every single day, especially first thing in the morning, you are literally allowing your mitochondria to have dysfunction. Your mitochondria cannot work without sunlight. And no, the lights inside do not work. Red light therapy works, and it's helpful. It's not everything the mitochondria need, but it is helpful. And so what scientists found is that sunlight literally programs your mitochondria to make ATP, to create your energy. And you already know that by now. If you don't have energy, you're not going to be able to take care of all the work that you need to do. And you already know that if your mitochondria can't make enough energy, what's going to happen is no gas, no go. None of your cells, none of your organs, your brain, your gut, your immune system, nothing can run right if there's no gas, if there's no energy. Aligning with God's design for your circadian clock and for your mitochondrial energy production is critical to you having good health. And without it, you won't have good health. It's really that simple. And this is free and easy to fix. You need to decide that you are never going to miss seeing the sunrise, even if it's cold outside. But if the weather is really bad, then just make sure that you have a good red light machine that is not producing a lot of EMFs, a really good high quality one, and just sit in front of it in the morning if the weather's not good. Because if you don't start creating this habit for yourself, you will never have great energy. This is an absolute non negotiable for your energy production. And then you need to make sure that you get some form of sunlight during the middle of the day. And if you can maybe go out for a walk in the evening after dinner, again, this is part of your clock, your inner clock that tells your body that, oh, okay, in the evening now, the light is different. In the evening, that means that now it's time for everything to start calming down so that you can get ready for bed. And so that you can have amazing sleep, because without sleep, again, you will not be able to produce good energy the next day. And so when I was first healing, I was learning about this. And at first I thought it was woo woo, and I didn't really take the time to pay attention closely to my biological clock, to my circadian rhythm protocol. And I really screwed myself. I really did. And once I really learned, once I read the Nobel Prize winning science, and I really just stopped and realized, oh my gosh, like I have been living indoors under false light for so long when I was sick. It's no wonder I don't have any energy. It's no wonder I don't have any strength. And so once I started doing this every day, it was really remarkable how fast I started really feeling better. Just being outside was beautiful, but being able to be outside in the sunlight, getting a little exercise, I'm going to talk to you about that next too. All of that really helped me to start feeling better, to start feeling like I was making a difference. But it actually improved my sleep. And I used to be a terrible insomniac. I mean, literally, I would go for 2 or 3 days before I would finally pass out. sleep for like 12 hours, and then get up and go for 2 or 3 days again without sleeping. It was horrible. Once I really started paying attention to my circadian rhythm, it was really amazing how really quickly I started feeling better. I started sleeping better. Those cravings started dropping off. You wouldn't think that those two things are related, but they are. My detoxification ramped up. I was actually able to detoxify faster, and I started noticing that my healing was ramping up and becoming faster and faster just because I decided to go out in the sunlight. I know it sounds like a little thing, but it's really not. The Lord created you to be in the sun. He created your mitochondria to work from sunlight first before anything else. You need sunlight. Sunlight is the most important thing that your mitochondria need in order to produce their energy. Think about it. It's just like plants. If you put a plant in the dark, what happens? It dies. Okay. And it's the same for you. So take this seriously. Get your booty out in the sun. You're going to love it anyway. It feels great. And even if it's a cloudy day, get your booty out there and keep listening to this training. I know I've got a lot of information to give you, but again, this is powerful information that is going to change your health and change your life. So keep listening because the worst mistakes that you're making are coming up in this training. And again, I want to offer you a done for you protocol that's going to incorporate all these different things and help you hour by hour in baby steps that you can take to help you feel better. And just click the link below. It's only 27 bucks, and it helps our ministry and it helps you too. So go ahead and grab that protocol now. All right. So now let's move on to mistake number 4. And that is drinking water that never reaches your mitochondria. So did you know that you can drink water all day long and still be dehydrated? And that should really scare you because mitochondria absolutely need water in order to make ATP. That's your energy. And so if you're not drinking good water that can actually get through the cellular membrane and then through the mitochondrial membrane to the inside of the mitochondria where that water can do the best work, then you're not making enough energy. And you're dehydrated even though you're drinking water all day long because you're drinking the wrong kind of water. You're not drinking water that's in the exact same state that the Lord created it for you to create your health. And it's this level of cellular hydration that it's actually causing a lot of the energy problems that people feel. And again, it's causing the mitochondrial dysfunction that is then leading to the inflammation, that is then leading to all your symptoms, that is then leading to your diseases. So I want to give you the truth now that most people were never taught. If the water you're drinking is either one, loaded with toxins, such as tap water or even bottled water, don't believe that BPA free stuff. There are 20 different plastics, not just BPA. Okay. And they're all in that bottled water, especially when they sit in a hot truck all day long to be delivered to your store. Okay. The more heat, the more plastics get into the water. You've got to stop drinking tap water. You have to have water that is clean and free of toxins, number one. But number two, and this is the bigger mistake that everyone's making, because most people know that you're not supposed to be drinking water that has toxins in it. Most people get that, okay? But what if you are drinking the water that's been filtered to such a degree that then it no longer has hydrogen? It no longer has minerals. And this leads me to mistake number 5, which is that you don't know that you need hydrogen in your water in order to make energy. So you need to know that drinking hydrogen water is not just discovered as a supplement. It's not just a trend. It was discovered by looking at natural biology, the way God made water to begin with. So I'm going to read you an excerpt now from a scientific paper all about hydrogen water, which again, I've included in the ebook that I sent you. Scientists first noticed something unusual when studying populations and environments with exceptionally low rates of chronic disease. Natural waters flowing from deep underground springs, volcanic regions, and mineral-rich sources often contained dissolved molecular hydrogen. These waters were associated with increased energy, better metabolic health, lower inflammation, natural weight balancing, and improved resilience to disease. Hmm. So, this led researchers to ask a very profound question like, why would water found in nature actually cause lower chronic disease? And they realized it was because of the molecular weight hydrogen, tiny little H's inside of the water. And when they studied it more, they realized that this tiny little hydrogen molecule, which is actually the smallest molecule in the universe, is so small that it can go right through cellular membrane. And it can reach the deepest parts of the cell, including your mitochondria. And then more research found that, wow, the mitochondria need that hydrogen in the water in order to produce ATP. In the world that we live in today, it's very difficult for us to go and get real spring water that actually does have hydrogen and minerals in it. And so we need to go over and above here and make sure in the world that we live in today that we get water in the same way that God created it to work within your body, within your cells, within your mitochondria. So, first, I want to talk to you about the minerals. The minerals are things like magnesium, sodium, potassium, and there's a whole bunch of others that are typically found in a natural sea salt. Just make sure that you're reading the label and doing your research and that it's not one that is loaded with other heavy metals, because again, this is a poison too. So, just be smart, be wise, do your research. All of these minerals are critically important for your mitochondria to be able to make your ATP and make your energy. Magnesium is one of the most important ones, and I'm going to talk more about that towards the end of the video when I start talking about supplements that are critical for you to get your energy back. But for right now, just know that magnesium, sodium, potassium, they're very, very important, absolutely necessary for you to make your energy. And the stats are is that most people are critically deficient in magnesium and the other minerals as well. Some scientists are even saying that most chronic illnesses can be corrected just by making sure that people have all the minerals that they need. And I want to read you again a paragraph that comes directly from the scientific literature so that you can hear this loud and clear. Mitochondria must have sunlight, water, and oxygen to make energy. Bringing this home, without water and minerals, energy production slows dramatically. Fatigue and that wired and tired feeling increases. Anxiety and stress hormones rise. Then inflammation worsens. Cellular deficiencies then increase. Symptoms get worse. Disease takes hold. You feel broken and without hope. The doctor gives you meds, which may help a symptom or two while creating more mitochondrial damage and more cellular deficiencies. You get worse over time. You start to believe you are stuck and you can never heal. So, are you starting to get the picture here? Obviously, this is not rare, but it is reversible. So, now let's focus on the fix. So, every single day, I prioritize getting enough water so that I can have all this great energy to teach you and help you to feel better. I filter my water, I keep it in glass, and then I remineralize it. And finally, I hydrogenate it. So, remineralizing your water is cheap and easy. It's just a matter of putting about a teaspoon or maybe a little bit less of a Celtic salt in your water. You can do that a couple of times a day. And if you still believe that salt is bad for you, even if you have high blood pressure or if you have kidney disease, oh my goodness. Okay, that's another talk for another day. Your kidneys are never going to get better if you don't have enough minerals in order to produce the ATP in order to heal your kidneys. And your high blood pressure and your heart disease would get much better if you didn't have mitochondrial dysfunction to begin with. So now you know to filter your water, you know to make sure that you put some salt in your water, but how do you hydrogenate it? So again, it's really pretty easy and it's very inexpensive. So what I did was I bought a hydrogen producer. It's a special water bottle, and a lot of people are using these now because they've caught on what they need to do. And it's super easy. All you do is you just put your water in, your clean filtered mineralized water. You put it in there, and you push the button, and it's going to start producing cool bubbles. And what those bubbles are is hydrogen going into your water. Takes about 10 minutes and then you can drink it. Super easy, super cheap, and like anybody can do this. Okay. And the science is very clear about hydrogen water now. It's not just a trend, it's not hype. The science is there that proves that when hydrogen is present in water, the way that God created water to begin with, the natural way, it is a natural, very powerful antioxidant. And antioxidants are what heal you. Antioxidants are what grab all the oxidative damage and get it out of your body. And so, antioxidants like hydrogen in your water literally lower your inflammation. And when you lower your inflammation, you protect against mitochondrial dysfunction and damage. And so, it's a beautiful thing, and it's just aligning with God's design for your body. It's not a biohack, it's just basic human biology, the way God created you to function. And it's funny how that works. It's almost as though God knew what he were doing when he created us. Imagine that. And don't forget that I've created that done for you protocol. You can just click the link below and you can go ahead and get that for 27 bucks. It's super cheap and it'll just make life easier on you.